Central Minnesota Sports Hub. It's the Morning Sports Desk, presented by Wadena's Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade. Available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts, and streaming on YouTube.
It is the Morning Sports Desk on a Thursday, the 20th of March. I'm CJ Baumgartner. That's Corey Tackman, powered by Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade. Corey, we got a little basketball, state basketball on the airwaves in Class A this afternoon.
Yes, we do. Are you ready? Are you feeling prepared? Are you feeling ready for the Target Center floor? What saith you, the guy who's going to be there?
I've never called a game on Target Center floor. What should I expect, Corey?
You should expect a bunch of radio jackals to take all the good seating. So feel free to get there in time for the first game if you want to get as close as you can to mid-court as possible. It's a bigger court, obviously, than we're used to being on. So the closer you can be towards the middle just obviously helps your perspective a little bit. The ring, like the center scoreboard, ring has TVs and things like that on the inside of it. So you'll be able to look straight up and see inside and be able to get kind of most of your pertinent information. But as you know, take some time to like look around in the Target Center and find the video boards that are up and around and find where your information is, because they'll put up stats and things like that in certain corners of the Target Center. It's just nice to know where the layout of everything is. But there's just, especially for Class A, there's a lot of radio stations and they'll be there early and we're jackals and we'll take like they'll be there in time for the first game. And it's a really tough call to be on the free throw line to the baseline on the far side of the court. I guess if you're going to be on one, pick the side that Henning's going to be on. So that way they're going to close right in front of you. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But other than that, it's just it's just really cool to be down on that floor. It's you'll be floor level. It's not like Williams Arena where you got to look up at it, which is a different thing to get used to entirely. But you're really gonna like it. It's a pretty neat experience. And having covered Henning myself before, goodness gracious, is there going to be orange in those stands?
It's going to be pretty noticeable. We have a matchup between the 5-seeded Henning Hornets, champions of Section 6, and the champions of Section 5, the 4-seeded Nevis Tigers. Here's a little bit of tail of the tape, Corey, okay? Henning is 27-3 overall. They're 12-0 in Section 6A, 14-0 in the Park Region Conference, 10-0 on the road, 12-0 at home, 5-3 in neutral site games. They come into the state tournament with a QRF of 111.8. And according to that, QRF means they're ranked 12th out of Class A. Here's how they got here in the Class A section playoffs. They had wins over Underwood 67-29, Park Christian 62-58. Then in the North subsection championship game, they got a 71-69 victory over Ada Borup West. And then finally in the section championship game in Moorhead last Friday, a 72-51 victory to launch them into the state tournament for the first time since 2019 and their first section championship since 2020. And I think it's a good time, too, as we mentioned. We talk a lot about kind of the last time Henning was at the state tournament, some of those other teams, with Coach Misagatis, that we talked with him yesterday, Corey, in our state tournament preview special, which if you haven't had a chance to go listen to that, go back and listen, because Coach Kramer and Coach Misagatis gave some great sound and just some really fun stories throughout the year to kind of get to know these teams. So I really heavily tell you to go back and listen to that, because it's pretty awesome. So without going into too much of that, again, because you can just go listen to those interviews, it's going to be a really fun matchup with Nevis. And before we talk about Nevis, remember these two teams played on January 11th at the Showcase in Perham on a Saturday. It was a 63-57 victory for the Tigers over the Hornets. And if you're Nevis, you say, yeah, we beat you then, and we've been chugging right along all season. We've gotten better and better as the week's gone on. there's no reason our size can't dictate the way things play. And if you're Henning, you look and you say, hey, we only lost by 6, and now we have Kale Misagatis back, and that's going to be a huge swing in our favor. So I'm really expecting this to, as we say on the sports desk, Corey, be a fun one. Really just talking with both coaches, and again, we'll talk about Nevis here in a second. Whichever style is going to dictate play is going to have a good chance to win, and we'll talk about that in a little bit here. But 26-4 with the Nevis Tigers on the season, 12-0 in the Northland Conference for their victory and their conference championship. 14-0 in the Northland Conference, 12-0 in Section 5A, 9-1 on the road, 12-1 at home, 5-2 on neutral site games. Well, who are the losses to for Nevis this season? They had a loss to Dawson Boyd, who's in the state tournament, 67-62 at St. John's in a tournament in late December. Then they also lost in that same tournament to Cherry, 74-60 as they played there. That was the game in Duluth East. The
top 2 seeds in the Class A state tournament.
Exactly.
Cherry and Dawson Boyd.
And by the way, in that same tournament, Corey, they got a win 77-62 over Heritage Christian, who is also in the state tournament.
The 7 seed. Yep.
Yeah. And then Henning, of course, in the state tournament. And Coach Kramer mentioned this. I mean, they've played over half of the teams that are in the state tournament already, which is just a huge advantage.
Yeah, that's crazy. And I know we're going to dive deeper into this and some of the matchup stuff here in a little bit, like you've mentioned, but I just so look forward to seeing this. Like, it's the 4-5 matchup, and that is just historically, like, those two teams are the closest to each other. I just expect it to be a dynamite game between two programs who here in central Minnesota are kind of the juggernauts of central Minnesota and Class A basketball. You can't go anywhere without hearing what Henning is doing in Class 6A. You can't go anywhere and hear what Nevis is doing in Class 5A. I mean, Nevis has dominated that Section 5 for a half a decade now. And even if you go back to the last time they weren't in the state tournament, they were probably in it the year before that. You know what I mean? Like, it's just Nevis and Henning and Henning and Nevis and the Tigers and the Hornets and the Hornets and the Tigers. Maybe the most interesting thing about all of them is that neither of them are the colors of the actual animals that represent their mascots.
Yeah, no, that is also true. By the way, if we're talking about the losses that Nevis has also had, their other losses to the year were Pequot Lakes by 1 point. And that was, again, a team that played in the quarterfinals of AA.
Mm-hmm.
And then their other one was a 1 point loss to Park Christian on the last game of the season in Nevis. And this is, again, if you're Henning, you can say, hey, they lost to Park Christian by 1. We were able to beat Park Christian in the section playoffs, which, again, as an outside observer, you look at all kind of the cross-referencing and like opponents and everything, and all it equals is this is just going to be a really fun game that is going to go down to the wire, and I'm really excited. We talked with both head coaches, and to kind of encapsulate what they were saying, just the too long didn't read version, is Nevis is big. They got 2 bigs. 2 6+ footers, and Coach Kramer said this is the biggest team he's ever had, just in terms of length, which those are some good Nevis Tiger teams to kind of get that compliment of, like, we're a big unit, we're pretty good. They want to dictate style, they want to play bully ball down on the block, that's where they want to take you. And if you're Henning, you want to drive and kick and get things going and pass the ball around and have a lot of shooters and kind of get your outside shots going. Not to say Kostelecki can't also get down there and play. There's also a couple other Henning players that I think are willing to go down and bang on the block and do all that stuff. But Nevis is going to have the advantage there. And if you're Henning, you're going to have the advantage in the outside shooting and your guard play. And whichever team can get their style of basketball to dominate the game, I'm not going to say that guarantees a victory, but it's going to put you in a pretty good position come the end of the game.
Yeah, like you said, my 2 favorite things in the conversations with Coach Kramer and Coach Misagatis, you mentioned one, what Coach Kramer said, this is the biggest team I've ever coached. And then we asked Coach Misagatis about Nevis, and he goes, they're really big. Like, it's the point of emphasis. It's the identity of Nevis. who they are, how they identify themselves, and how other teams identify. You know what I mean? Like it is absolutely 100% the crux of this game. I don't think we spoil the conversations. If you haven't listened to that state tournament preview with Coach Kramer and Coach Misagatis, we're not spoiling those conversations by saying, how does Henning handle the size? And how does Nevis handle the guard play? It's that simple. Basketball, this particular basketball game is going to be an unbelievably easy assessment. It'll just be clear. It'll just be clear. One team handled it maybe a little better than the other.
Exactly. If we want to go to some of Henning's losses on the season, they had a loss to Morris area, Chicoio, Alberta, which again is a conference opponent of West Central area, who they were able to beat. But Morris had a nice run in the 3AA tournament. They lost to Nevis, and then their only other loss was a game that they played in Moorhead at Moorhead High School against Hankinson on February 15th. That was a 4-point loss. And like Coach Misagatis mentioned, in that game, it was a 91-87 finish. They didn't have Kale in that game, who, again, I know obviously is not their leading scorer this season by in terms of total points, but is their best scorer, is one of their top defenders. He's just an overall all-around good player. And that'll just be interesting how this mixes in and how things handle and whatever. But it's just going to be a fun one all around. Both of these teams have athletes. Both these teams are gamers. There are some, not a ton, but there is a couple lingering around from those football teams that played a couple of years ago in the state semifinal game at US Bank Stadium between Nevis and Ottertail Central on the Tigers' trip to a state championship. So these are, I was talking about it with Coach Kramer, and just gamers. Like, those are guys who want to go out there. They want to compete. They want to win. They know how to win. And both of these schools have seen success in other sports in their boys programs. And so it's just the competitiveness. They want to win. They know how to win. They want to be out there. And it's on the Target Center, which is going to be really awesome as well. We have coverage of that on the Superstation K-106. That's 105.9 FM, streaming online at WadenaRadio.com. Superstation K-106 mobile app, 12:45 pregame, and a 1 o'clock tip-off. That's pretty darn good. WadenaRadio.com, Superstation K-106 mobile app, 105.9 FM. By the way, we will be covering every single Henning Hornet game throughout the state tournament. So win or lose, we will have Henning on Friday. And if they're able to win one of those two games, they will play on Saturday as well. We'll have coverage of all three of those games, all on the same station, Superstation K-106. And WadenaRadio.com is the place to go to find the broadcast schedule if you don't hear it from us, or Sports Cow on Facebook. Corey?
Moo.
All right. We have a little bit to talk about in terms of a basketball mayhem challenge thingy-dingy that we want to talk about. Before we do that, we do need to give a shout out to the good folks at Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade in Wadena. Corey?
Wednesdays are double points days at Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade. I double your points with some delicious cactus bread. I love the cactus bread. I was trying to think of like a clever, how could I like make this as smooth, like I'm a professional, like I've done this before, like a professional advertisement. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
I just devolved into a drooling doofus when it comes to cactus.
You were too busy drooling over the pizza to really kind of focus.
Yeah, it's just so good. So you want to take advantage every Wednesday at the Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade in Wadena with your ranch rewards. Earn double points and load up on that cactus bread. Why not? You're there. That's what buffeting is all about. And then after you're done eating, go work some of it off in the FunZone Arcade and throw on the goggles for the Godzilla game and be scared out of your mind in the best way possible about how realistic it is that you're staring right into the face of Godzilla in 3D while your helicopter arches straight up to the sky. You're like, this is how it ends for me, isn't it? And it's the best, man. I just take advantage of what Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade has to offer in downtown Wadena. And thank you for making the morning sports desk possible.
All right, Corey, we need to have a conversation about a little challenge that we're doing here on online at WadenaRadio.com, which means we need to break this bad boy out.
Oh, I like it. I like it. The 2025 basketball mayhem. Is that what you're talking about, CJ?
Yes, it is. Who brings us that this year?
Presented by the Wadena VFW in beautiful downtown Wadena. Now, as has been the case, an opportunity for $1 million. Fill out your bracket. If it's perfect, you could get $1 million. I mean, that's how good is that? If you can't get a perfect bracket and $1 million, well, you're playing for first place because of Wadena VFW's got a $250 grand prize up for bids. You gotta get it done, period. Like, if you are listening to this as it comes out, we're gonna get it out in plenty of time here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because those first games tip off at what, like 11 a.m.
right away. Yeah,
like you got to get it done before tip off. So we're telling you right now, stop listening to the morning sports desk.
Put it on pause.
WadenaRadio.com. Click on the 2025 Basketball Mayhem presented by the Wadena VFW and fill out your bracket so you are entered in to win. And good luck. You're going to lose to me.
How is the bracket looking? Have you you got it made, right?
I haven't touched it yet. No, this is what I was set. The second we're done here is what I got to get it done.
Okay. So do you mind if I talk about my bracket then?
No, please influence me.
Okay. So if we go to the leaderboard and I'm tied for first, which is about the only time that's going to happen based on how things are going, for the bracket, especially last year. But all right. Here's my final four. I'm just going to dive right into that. I got Florida, Michigan State, Duke, going with the Blue Bloods here. And coming in out of nowhere, Illinois. That's my final four.
Disrespecting Auburn, I see.
Yes. And look, it's not because I have confidence in all four of these schools. Like any bracket, I just kind of kept going and weaving my way down and realized this was kind of the path I picked.
Yes, I've been there before. So when you fill your brackets out, because I've done it both ways. Do you go just one game at a time and however it works out is how it works out? Or do you sometimes work backwards? Like I've had years where I feel very strongly about who the final four teams are.
Mm-hmm.
And I just put them in the final four and then kind of work backwards from that point. Are you one game at a time and then however it works out, it works out?
Yeah, that's typically how I go unless I feel really strongly about a certain team. But then every time I do that, I panic because I'm like, but, and then I end up kind of going backwards. So the best way to end up doing it for me is I just kind of have to go game by game, round by round. But then, like I said, it opens the door for like, oh, shoot, do I really have Illinois going to the Final Four? I kind of do, don't I? Oh, okay. Well, if I'm right, I'm going to win. So
that's true.
You can't pick 4 1 seeds. Like, that's boring. And never really happens anyways.
I will happily pick 4 1 seeds.
Because one of them will be the champion or in the championship game, and you'll get all the points.
That's exactly right. I mean, the point is...
The upsets is the thing, but you need to pick the champion. That's how you win.
Upsets are fun, but the upsets are usually not like they'll make it. Upsets don't make it to the Final Four typically.
And they especially don't win the national championship.
Right. It happens. I understand. I know that. But you know what? If I have 3 of the other 4 Final Four teams, I'm going to win. Yeah. You have to have those. You have to have your Final Four teams, as many of those correct as possible. And your champion has to be correct.
Yeah.
Have to. That's the only way to win.
Mm-hmm. That's the way you got to do it. So I'm kind of just double checking my bracket here just to see what I had for a kind of runs throughout the tournament here, and just kind of if there was any big upsets that I thought would pull it out. I think Colorado State is going to get a win over Memphis, the Mountain West champions. I think I had Colorado State getting to the Sweet 16 before eventually falling to Florida. I think Grand Canyon University is going to upset Maryland. I also think that I think Utah State's going to beat UCLA. That's a 10-7 upset. It's not like the biggest one in the world by any stretch of the imagination. I have Akron beating Arizona. I have Liberty beating Oregon. I have Liberty somehow getting to the Sweet 16 before losing to Duke. And that's kind of some of the upsets I have peppered around in my bracket, but I certainly I wouldn't say I have a Cinderella story run.
So you have a 4-13 upset.
Yes.
Which is the new 5-12 in my opinion.
Yeah, that's everybody's gotten bored of 5-12.
What's the biggest upset you have, or did you say that and I just wasn't listening?
Those are all the upsets I have in my bracket. I think probably my biggest one would probably be Akron over Arizona, or maybe Liberty against Oregon, but I feel like those are kind of the two that really are kind of the big eye poppers, unless you feel like Grand Canyon over Maryland. Those are kind of the real.
I mean, I guess I'm going by seeding. Do you know those seed? Because that's
I think the biggest seeding would probably be then the Arizona over Akron, which is a 4-13, and then the Maryland over Grand Canyon.
You have two 4-13 upsets.
Yes, I do. One of them will be correct. And of course they will. One of the 4-13 upsets will happen. It will be the two I didn't pick.
That's right. It'll be the other two.
But Corey, there's a lot of rules when it comes to brackets. Everybody's got their ideas. Everybody's got their things that kind of help them get through and help them figure things out along the way. So I've seen this kind of theory brought about when it comes to making your NCAA tournament brackets. How many do you fill out? Somebody says the correct answer is 3.
I've heard 3 also. I will fill out 2 because I'll do one here at work and then I do one with some college friends. Mm-hmm. But I kind of just like I'll probably follow one bracket for the other.
Right.
So I've always been a purist. Like I pick one bracket, I fill it out the same way, and I'll submit it in a bunch of different places, but I'm a one bracket guy.
You're not tweaking the formula. You're not diversifying your investments in the brackets.
If my brackets are different, it's because I didn't have the other one with me while I was filling out the other one.
So this goes into the person's theory of 3 brackets. 1 is filled out in less than 60 seconds when the bracket first comes out. It's all just vibe checks.
Sure.
Once the bracket immediately comes out.
Love it.
And the second one you make is with your head. That's the one where you really try and like actually analytically be like, okay, who do I think is going to win all these games? And then the third one is the heart. And that's what you want to see happen. You want to see Duke get upset in the first round. You want to see Akron make it to the Final Four and somehow get to the Natty. You want it like something like that, where it's like you're just picking upsets and you're picking a Cinderella run. So that way, when it happens, you can go, oh, I picked that Cinderella run, despite the fact in your actual analytical bracket, you did not pick them at all. You had them getting wiped on the floor by Duke in round 1.
Right. Yeah, no, I love it. I think that's like, if you're going to do like, that makes perfect sense to me. I would also just be like, my counter argument to that would be whatever group you're in and whatever like facility, whichever organization is facilitating your bracket. Hopefully it's the Basketball Mayhem at WadenaRadio.com. But if it's ESPN or CBS or it's all of them, it's Yahoo, whatever, however you do it, just go with your gut every single time. And if your gut is different on the next bracket fill out than it was on the previous, then go with it.
Go with
just go with your gut. People who do this for a living can't figure it out. What chances do we have? So you might as well have fun with it and go with your gut.
And remember, there will always be one coworker who has never watched a second of college basketball fill one out and inevitably be better than you.
I think this is, I've said this every year now for a lot of years running. This might be the least amount of college basketball I've watched.
It's pretty low.
Pretty low for me this year.
A couple, by the way, here's a couple bracket things that that I've saw on the interwebs that I feel like I need to bring up here on the sports desk. One is, here's a great pickup line, Corey. I know that we're both married, but this is for the single fellas and the single ladies out there here. So if you, this is a pickup line that I saw on Twitter yesterday. March Madness theme. So this is the week to do it, fellas or ladies. Just go up to that special someone and go, hey, can I see your bracket? And then boom, instant conversation starter. And then if you go, oh, I don't have a bracket, you go, oh, can I help you fill one out?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's done.
Done. No, it's perfect. I have no notes. That is a perfect, non-intimidating opening line.
All right, and one last NCAA tournament thing I got to get out of the way. March Madness is really kind of hyping up the celebrities that are filling out their brackets. Most specifically, March Madness put this tweet out yesterday. Dr. Pimple Popper has released her bracket. Do you want to see what she has, kind of some of the things throughout? Michigan State, your national champion.
Sure.
UC San Diego in the Sweet 16, their first year ever of being Division I.
Love it.
Men's and women's teams both made the tournament. That's never happened before.
Love it.
First year in Division I. She has them in the Sweet 16. She has McNeese State upsetting Clemson.
Nice.
And that's what we got here with the bracket. So her Final Four is Michigan State, Florida, Alabama, Purdue. And this is why I give it instant uncredibility. You never pick Purdue to make the Final Four. Never. They never do it.
That last year at Edie they did, didn't they? Didn't they win? Did they win the whole thing? See,
no.
This seems so bad.
No. NCAA Final Four.
Purdue is so happy that Gonzaga exists because Purdue always underwhelms.
UConn won last year.
That's right, obviously, because UConn won it 2 years in a row.
Purdue did get there, and they lost. It was UConn, Purdue, Alabama, and NC State.
That's right.
Yes.
Right.
So, yeah, Purdue does get there, I guess. But that was like the first time in a long, 40 years.
And Purdue was the one who, they were the 2 seed, the first 2 seed to ever get upset or whatever. You know what I mean? It's always Purdue. It's always Purdue. It's always Purdue who loses early.
So anyway, if you need help, just Google Dr. Pimple Popper. She'll help.
Who's the team in your history that's always screwed you over? Is it Purdue?
Villanova. Villanova's been the team. So for a while, I would pick them in the mid.
Irrationally loved them.
No. I just would pick them in the mid 20 teens, and then I hate them. So I hated Villanova because I would always pick them, and they'd always underwhelm. And then I was telling everybody my senior year of high school, don't pick Villanova. If there's any bet, don't go Villanova. They always are picked to do well, and they never do anything in the tournament. And then they proceeded to win the national championship that year. And then 2 years later, they proceeded to win another one.
Yeah.
So I hate them for that reason, for making me feel dumb. Which, look, isn't that hard to do, but still.
Who is your irrational, you just loved them no matter what?
Oh.
Because for me, it was always Syracuse. I don't know what it was. I just love, before even Carmelo and stuff like that. I just loved Syracuse. I don't know if it was the school colors, if it was the 2-3 zone. I don't know what it was. I had an irrational love for Syracuse, and it worked sometimes, and it bit me in the hind end more times than it didn't.
This is going to seem like a cop-out, but it always kind of did feel like North Carolina to me. I just would pick them to make a Final Four almost any bracket that they're in.
Sure, not this year, though.
Not this year, though, although they did win pretty big in their first 4 games. So
cool.
The AD at North Carolina who got himself a bonus. The AD from North Carolina who was on the selection committee got himself a bonus because North Carolina got in the tournament.
Weird how that works, isn't it?
Weird. Anyway, so yeah, that's our bracket stuff. Any other bracket stuff you want to get off your chest? Otherwise, we got one thing to clean up here.
No, I think it was Syracuse was always my irrational love, and then probably the one that would break my heart the most often would be Gonzaga. I kind of irrationally always really liked them too. Then they were always really good. They're the other team that if they're so good, why are they losing so early? It's not impossible.
Virginia got that rap for a long time and then finally broke through and won one.
Correct.
So, all right. Go sign up WadenaRadio.com, Superstation K-106 mobile app. VFW and Wadena brings us the 2025 bracket mayhem. Okay. One last thing to clean up. This is yesterday's news, but Tom Pelissero put out Wednesday morning a tweet that took a weirdly long amount of time for the Vikings to officially get out to the league sources. But Tom Pelissero was on K-Fan Radio Wednesday morning on the Power Trip, and he said, this team's rolling with JJ McCarthy. They have told Aaron Rodgers they are not going to be interested in bringing him onto the team. And JJ McCarthy is the team starting quarterback, which is funny to see because you can definitely tell which sources are talking directly to Rodgers' agency, because it was always Rodgers is coming. There's interest. They're talking about it. Oh my gosh. Like, look at this. And then all of a sudden, now that it's done, it's like, well, it's just on pause. And like, there's not maybe, which I think is true. Aaron Rodgers is going to wait. But as we talked about on the last show where we talked about this stupid thing, I said, it's not going to be a thing. It's dumb. Why are we wasting time on it? We wasted a week's worth of nothing for nothing. So anyway, I would not have wanted Rodgers in a purple uniform ever in my life. And I'm glad that that hasn't come to fruition as of the recording of this podcast.
Yeah. The most recent thing I guess I saw was, I think it was Schefter who said it's not going to happen now. That doesn't rule out somewhere down the line. And I suppose that's just the safety net of the Vikings saying, I mean, yeah, JJ McCarthy hurts his knee in his first spring
we'll
training.
Give you a phone call,
whatever it's called, training camp or whatever, like
days or mini camp or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Then sure. Then absolutely. Let's have this conversation. But yeah, it's
the Vikings are being nice. They're nicely telling him no. They're putting him down easy.
Like a Rodgers pushed storyline and not the Vikings. The Vikings doing their due diligence on Rodgers, I have no issues with it. Every team in the league has done their due diligence, and the Vikings are loaded on offense, and they might need a professional quarterback to get those guys the football. So I'm with you. I have no interest in Rodgers, but the dude's been a professional for a long time. I get the Vikings wanting to do their due diligence on it. It's never once seemed like this story has come from the Vikings. It has always been an Aaron Rodgers storyline and not a Vikings storyline, if that makes sense.
Well, yeah, and the Vikings just don't leak, right? Like they're under Kwesi, they don't tell the media anything. Like when Justin Jefferson's contract comes out, when Darrisaw's extension comes out, it's not a, hey, the Vikings are close to an extension with Darrisaw or Jefferson or whatever. It was, boom, all of a sudden Schefter tweets, hey, Justin Jefferson's extended. Like there's no like media games that are really played with under the Kwesi administration necessarily. Like they're very tight-lipped when it comes to talking to the national media and local media, really. They don't really say a ton. So yeah, to hear all this stuff come out, and it really felt like it was one way because it was all the people that Rodgers likes to talk to. It felt like Rodgers was trying to make a push to get himself on the Vikings, which he should have every interest in doing. They're a good football team, and if your option is playing in Minnesota or playing for the New York Giants, yeah, I could see why you'd want to make a push to see if the Vikings will let you in the building. It just never made sense. And somebody put this comparison out here, and then I'll wrap up kind of my talking with this. Somebody put this out there on Twitter, and they said, this is a lot like when the Vikings brought in Harbaugh, right? And everybody's like, oh, they're bringing in Jim Harbaugh. He's coming in for an interview. We should expect a tweet any day that the Vikings are going to bring in Jim Harbaugh to be their head coach. And he was there for like 8 hours, like a long meeting, and he left. And they never hired Jim Harbaugh. The Vikings have a plan as an organization. That doesn't mean you can't consider deviating or you can't consider some other options. But Harbaugh came up, but he just ultimately wasn't in their plan. They took a risk on Kevin O'Connell, and it paid off. They're taking a risk. I mean, it was a risk to sign Rodgers, don't get me wrong. But they are taking a risk of going to an unproven rookie quarterback who missed his rookie year with a knee injury. They are. But they're willing to take that risk. And it paid off for him before, and there's no reason that it won't pay off for him now. They could go with the big thing that's going to create headlines, and ownership could. There are NFL owners that will push for guys just because of the big names. Cough, cough, Cleveland trading for Watson. Cough, 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 cough. That decision came right from the owner. The Wilfs let the football people do the football things, and they didn't go, hey, go get Rodgers because that's Aaron Rodgers. Come get him in our building. That's Jim Harbaugh. We're going to do whatever it takes to get Jim Harbaugh. They're letting the people they put in place make the decisions, and these people have a plan. They didn't extend Darnold for that plan. Said this before. They let Thielen go. They let Eric Kendricks go. They let they shed the contracts. They let Kirk go. They did all this stuff because 2025 was the vision. This is a team that is playing for 2025 and 2026, 2027. And right now, everything is leading to JJ McCarthy being that starting quarterback. It never really made sense for them to deviate from that to go to Rodgers.
The only addition I would make is I agree with everything that you're saying. It might be because we're Vikings fans, we might give too much credit on some of these decisions also to the Vikings in either way, shape, or form. For example, you mentioned Jim Harbaugh. Now, I don't know for sure. I'm sure the Vikings were very interested, and I'm sure Jim Harbaugh was very interested, but it just might be that Jim Harbaugh is more interested in working with Justin Herbert and the Chargers, and you use the Vikings and that organization as leverage for the job that you actually
That was the year before. But yeah, I mean, it could just be a signal to let NFL teams know, like, hey, I'm interested. Like,
yes. Yeah. And Harbaugh, by the way, I mean, Harbaugh's been, it's not like that guy he couldn't keep his hands out of the cookie jar wherever he's been, whenever he's been there. You know what I mean? So yeah, the timing, but this is a Rodgers thing too. Like, Rodgers is playing a game in this also. This is not just a Vikings decision to make. Some of this is also posturing by Aaron Rodgers. So that way Pittsburgh panics and says, you know what, we'll give you a little more than we originally said we were going to. By the way, Pittsburgh would be a great spot for him. Mike Tomlin is super steady. Pittsburgh never loses games. He gets to throw to DK Metcalf and George Pickens. Like, Pittsburgh makes a lot of sense for Aaron Rodgers. A lot of sense. In the same way that the Vikings, in the exact same way that the Vikings would make sense for Aaron Rodgers. Some of this is just, it feels like it's posturing, and he's just using the Vikings as that leverage. Now, if he gets the Vikings gig, awesome, because the Vikings are an awesome spot to land I think as an unbiased Vikings fan. Like that's just the Vikings have a good reputation as an organization. But really, this is like, if I get the Vikings, cool, but I got to keep the Vikings in play here, so that way Pittsburgh offers a little more, whatever the situation may be. Some of this is just posturing by the other guy. We got to give the other guy in these stories credit here too.
Exactly. This has been the Morning Sports Desk, powered by Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade. See you tomorrow.
Powered by Wadena's Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade. Follow the Morning Sports Desk on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts, and watch every show on YouTube.